And yes, I think we're live. I'm here with my new friend, Dea. How are you doing, Dea?
I'm doing great. Little food coma from our Thanksgiving yesterday.
Oh, yeah. So what did you eat? Turkey and stuffing and
Well, I wasn't going to cook at all, but our daughter said, "Hey, guess what? I can come home for Thanksgiving." And I asked, "What would it take for it to feel like you're home for Thanksgiving?" And she rattled off our typical menu. So the three of us, my husband and I, and our single 25-year-old daughter, I cooked enough because I don't know how to half the recipes. We had turkey, Brussels sprout, glazed Brussels sprouts, corn casserole, a family favorite, the
Uh-huh.
dressing, the gravy, uh, copper pennies, which are marinated carrots,
Ah,
rolls, potatoes, mashed potatoes,
wow.
cranberry sauce. I mean,
Wow.
and pecan pie or pecan pie, as
Oh,
some
yeah.
people say, and her favorite pumpkin toffee cobbler that has
Whoa.
that has Heath candy bar crumbles on top of it. So,
Oh, wow. That's so decadent. I feel just
do you
like,
feel fat?
yeah.
Did
I
you
feel
gain a
fat
few
now. I
pounds?
feel fat.
Well, I was telling everybody, don't forget to set your scales back 15 pounds before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, good idea. Good idea. So, listen, I want to learn a little bit about you because I don't really know that much about you. But what I always do with my guests, no matter who they are, is I ask them to go back and paint a picture of the sort of the journey. What makes you you today? How did you get where you are today? And start with like the family life. Was there religion or philosophy in the home? If you believe in God and religion, when did that happen and what happened? And just talk us through the whole journey up until today.
Wow. Give you my travel log.
Yeah.
Okay, so I tell people I'm from South America, and they go, "Really?" And yes. See, I was born in Mississippi, and after I married, we lived in Alabama, two places in Georgia, and two places in Florida. And if you know your geography, that's South America. But
Ah, ha, 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 ha.
it all started in a very small, quaint southern town in Mississippi, where everybody knew everybody. Like I don't know if you know the Cheers TV show where
Yeah.
everybody knows your name. And if you get in trouble, if you ever do anything wrong, your Aunt Pat will call your mom and you're in trouble, right? So, but I grew up in a very, I would say, a bubble of a culture where everybody went to church. I went with my parents. I knew that there was a Catholic church way out of town and that some of my friends went there, but we didn't talk much about that. And as far as I knew, there wasn't anything else in town. There might have been, but I, went to church, went to Sunday school. If anybody asked me, I would say I was a Christian because, I did the Christian things. And one summer when I was in high school, I played high school basketball. And back then, we would have team camps. And at our team camps every night, our coach would have us have a devotional.
Mm,
And this is a public school in this
nice.
protected little private small town. And one of the teammates had been with the Baptist church to New York City, or I think it was New York, to this big city place to do evangelism and sharing the gospel. And she was talking about how they were finding people that thought Jesus was a cuss word. They didn't know that he was a real person. And then she told about some of the struggles they had and how they prayed and God answered the prayers. And I was struck with conviction. The Holy Spirit said, "Whoa, she has a personal relationship with God that you don't know. That is not the God you know." And I know I scared my teammates and my coach, but I fell apart, just boo-hooing and ugly crying.
Ah,
And that was, I would say that was the beginning of my journey. And as I've gone through life, things have unfolded, and I would almost say, oh, well, I thought sort of like Job before I knew him, but now I really know him. But I would say that that's more sanctification. God was calling me. I did commit my life to him and, confess that I needed a savior, that I couldn't save myself. And then as I went through life, as we do, we kind of, oh, wait, that's not, come back. And then, wow. A pivotal point was after college, well, before the last year of college, I got married and my husband went to seminary.
Oh.
So yes, I'm a church surviving POW, preacher's old wife. So after seminary is when we moved 13 hours away. The only time I'd moved before we got married was from the back bedroom to the front bedroom, and then off to college an hour away, and then another 20 minutes. But then we moved 13 hours away from anything or anybody I knew. And nobody was saying, hey, how's your mama, Nim? If you're not from the South, that is, how is your mother? And tell her I said hi and all of your relatives next time you see them because I care and I know you. Nobody cared. And I felt the pain of isolation that I realized is what a lot of people feel. And that's when I found the God of the Psalms. And is it 5 or 6 where it says he collects our tears in his bottle, and or David saying, I cry myself to sleep. It's like, wow, God cares about me and is real, even though he is the creator of the world and holy, So, but then we moved 15 times, and sometimes those moves were challenging and, well, always. Also, this you may not know. If you don't know anything about me, you wouldn't know this. Almost every time we moved, not quite, but that was the joke, we had a baby. So my husband and I, we don't have 15, we have 8. And we were finished twice. We got married in 74. We are going to celebrate our 50th wedding anniversary this July. And then every odd year for 4 odd years, we had a baby for 4, girl, boy, boy, girl. And that's the perfect family, right? We were moving. I got rid of the baby equipment and we moved to a new church. 5 years later, oh, I know this. So every other even year, for 3 even years, because we didn't want him to feel like he was an accident or afterthought. So we had the 3 Musketeers, the second batch, I call them. And we moved and we got rid of the baby equipment. And 7, now, have you heard that 7 is the number of completion or the perfect number? So had I. When our oldest was getting married, I got to wear Mother of the Bride maternity dress. Yes, number 8 was on the way. And she's the one that just came. She grew up with 7 siblings, but an only child. Because out of the house. But anyway, so as with each, challenge, my children have grown up. They've gotten married, but a lot of them, even before they were married, moved to other countries, other continents. They've lived on 6 continents. And so there's the challenge of, I would much rather them they're safer in the will of God on the other side of the world than out of the will of God next to me. So, we sent them out, but also it makes really fun places to go visit. Oh, darn, are you having a baby, your first baby in Brazil? I need to come. Cool. So anyway, Brazil, Bosnia, India, Japan, yes. And so 6 of our 8 are married, and we now have grandchildren. You want to guess how many?
16?
Close, 19.
Oh.
And yeah, our oldest grandson and our youngest child were both in college at the same time. Yeah. So anyway,
Wow.
that's sort of a summary of my walk with God. It's always an adventure. I would rather do what he's leading me to do. Like when I was praying about our family, like something's got to change. And I was praying, God, what is it about our family that we can fix? And I is at this conference, and the speaker was saying, I'm talking to you mostly pastors. What is it? What have you profited if you've gained the whole world and lost your family? And I'm like, okay, I'm asking, answer me. And we were on the way home. We visited a church, and my son came out of the Sunday school class. He goes, Mom, I want to homeschool. And I'm like, is there anybody else up there? So yeah, that began that journey. Not all of them have homeschooled, not all of them at the same time, and not all for all the grades. It was just every year, what did God want? And I see that it was the right thing for each one at the right time. So it's better than getting swallowed by a whale. It couldn't have been as bad to homeschool as it is to get swallowed by a whale. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah. So what's with well, first of all, I'd like to interview your husband if he'd come and talk to me about his work. What's his official title? Is he a pastor, a minister?
Yes.
What is he?
He got his MDiv, and we mostly, when he was active, he retired, but he's retired 2 or 3 times anyway. He did church renewal and church planting. That was our first. We get out of seminary. We have not even a 2-year-old and a 4-week-old, and we drive 13 hours to a group of 7 people that want a church.
Wow.
Like, okay. And that's when I met the God of the Psalms.
So are you Baptist today, or non-denominational, or what are you?
We started in the Presbyterian Church of America, the conservative Bible-believing Presbyterian church.
Yeah.
And he retired after we moved we're in Durham, North Carolina now, and we came here to see if we could resurrect a church, but it was DOA, just, so he decided, well, really, I should have retired already, and he retired. Then a friend said, hey, why don't you join the ARP, Associate Reformed Presbyterian Church, and there's a church that needs a pastor, interim pastor, and our presbytery could use your help. So we did that. We even spent a year at a church 2.5 hours away, drive down on the weekends, and help them while they were looking for a pastor. And then we just started working with another church that's about 1.5 hours away. But yeah, so he keeps retiring. And God says, I'm not finished with you yet.
So was there any adjustment that needed to be made? Like you were sort of ostensibly Catholic when you were young, and then you became sort of Baptist or something? Is that what happened, or no?
No, I was always Presbyterian.
Oh, okay. Because I understood your story. There was only one church, and it was Catholic or something like that.
Oh yeah, no, there was one Catholic church way out.
Oh, I see. Okay, you were just trying to relate to me a bit.
Yes.
So I see.
I grew up in a Presbyterian church, and the original one, that's not the one that I was actually, my pastor at the time so that was PCUS, And when the PCA, there's like 10 different kinds of Presbyterians, but when the PCA started, the pastor we had helped start the seminary.
Okay.
So, that was all during the late 60s, early 70s. And how can that be? Because I'm only 40.
Well, I was going to ask your age, but I think it's not polite. But you look great. You look great. Anyway.
For an old lady, I look pretty good.
You look great. Even for a 40-year-old, you look great. So
I like to tell people when I meet them that I've had birth, same husband, same body. I've had 8 children. They go, "Wow, you look good," and that makes me think I didn't look good before they knew I had 8 kids. What is up with that?
So, yeah, just so you know, excuse me, I got a bit of a lung infection. It's been dragging on for a month. You'll pray for me, but it's getting better. But
Yay.
I was raised Protestant, and we used to go to, Anglican, United, and Presbyterian. So we would just sort of hop around, whatever, I guess. But yeah, so I have some experience, with the Presbyterian community up here in Canada. It might be different. I don't know if it might be different up here,
It could be. Well, there was a period of time when I was in high school that I told people I was Methobaptirian because I belonged to the Presbyterian church, but I sang in the choir at the Methodist church, which was across the street. And then next to us was the Baptist church. And I would do fun things with the youth group. So I was Methobaptirian.
Yeah, I'm Catholic, so I'm not allowed to say that I do fun things with the youth group. That would not be a good thing to say in the Catholic Church.
Oh,
I'm joking. I'm joking.
Yes. I got the joke. Yes.
Yeah, it's not a good joke. It's not a good joke. My friend Daniel Drazinovich, he's a nice man. He lives up here in Canada with me. Well, he doesn't live with me. He's in a different city. But he says, I love this lady's energy and enthusiasm. So he's vibing off you here.
Well, thank you. So glad you're joining. Yes, we're live. So
yeah.
So there's 3 of us here. Woohoo!
Yeah, I mean, I never get a lot of viewers, especially when I'm live, because I don't really pre-announce it or whatever. But you might have a couple more people pop by, and they might have some questions for you. But so I'm just wondering about the bumps on the road. Like you sort of indicated that maybe sometimes you strayed a little bit and then came back. What's the gossip? What's the juicy stuff? What happened? Like, did you end up being an atheist, or did you end up sowing your wild oats, or what was it?
It's so G-rated. I mean, it is so not ready for prime time movies with the big turnaround.
Okay.
I didn't get off and start doing drugs. I didn't have an affair, nothing. I mean, like I said, 50 years this July.
It's not too late. It's not too late. It's never too late. It's never too late.
I tell people, 50 years of married blisters. But anyway, no, just the times where you just, God, are you there? I'm believing in you and I'm trusting you, but I'm really hurting here. And one time in particular was when my husband felt like he needed to resign from a church that we were serving, had been there 10 years, whatever. And as a church renewal person, he comes in, they listen, they know they're hurting, he renews them, it grows, and now they're ready to go back to Egypt. Now that they know they're big and healthy, then they want to start saying what it needs to be like. And that if you do that, they'll go back to where they were when we first got there. And so he's not a maintenance kind of guy. I will come in, I will make sure you understand the purpose of the church, the promise of the church, and you can move forward. And so then he's like, nah, I'm out of here. So he was looking around for a job, and he did find one he used to be a basketball coach before he became a Christian, and that you do need to talk to him, man. He's got some stories. Anyway, he was an athletic director for a military boarding school on the coast in Mississippi, and so he went to his assignment. But I was left with 4 kids still at home, homeschooling, selling the house, et cetera, et cetera. And the new job was half the salary, and we had the same expenses. So we got down to, I'm pretty creative in the kitchen. And I can cook musco like the best of them. Do you know what musco is? All the leftovers must go. So you make a big pot of musco stew. Anyway,
here in Quebec we call it tuski. Tuski rest. It's like all that's left. Tuski in French means all that's left. Tuski.
That's it. That's what you do. So anyway, we had, I was making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and my son that eventually ended up playing lineman at football at Wake Forest University. So we're not talking little kid, right? He said, "Mom, I'm hungry. I can have another sandwich." All I had was the heel of the loaf and get out the spatula and scrape the rest of the peanut butter and folded it in half. And I said, "This is what you have." And that night I was just, God, don't you see us? I mean, we're hungry. You promise. I've never seen the righteous forsaking or the godly begging for bread. So like, give it to me. And do you know, the next day, I found in my mailbox a loaf of homemade bread.
No way.
Yes. It's a long story, but it was supposed to have been delivered like a month or so ago before that. But God was waiting for me to ask for it. And it was a surprise. I didn't know it was supposed to come. The school that he was athletic director of has a partnership with another place, and one of their industries at this other place where they take in foster children and whatever, they have a bakery and they sell bread. And we went there to visit and interviewing for a potential job, and all the visitors that come, they mail them a loaf of bread. But it had been months.
Wow.
So, and even when we were graduating from seminary, while we were at seminary, my husband was student supply pastoring a little country church way out. And we were almost ready to graduate. We were having our second child, and we had all these school debt, and we were going to move to that place 13 hours away and start a church. And we didn't want to have all this debt. And we're riding there, and there's a hitchhiker that's walking along the side of the road. And my husband says, we should give him a ride, because he looked helpless. So he sat in the back seat, and our not quite 2-year-old was in the back seat in her car seat. And she's like, what is this? We start, who is this guy? And, it's like, how smart are we? And we get his whole story. And we decided, okay, we're going to give him, we didn't have any cash. Write him a check for $5. Like, I don't know what that's going to do, because we had $7.12. So we're going to give him $5. And then our daughter, who always would hang on to her money, and it was hard to get her to put it in the offering plate, say, here, you can have she wanted to give him her money too.
Wow.
So we get to church happens, and after church, the lady said, my son is in town. He's never been here. He wants to meet you because he wants to thank you for, ministering to me while you've been here all this time. And it was like our last Sunday, I think. So we go to her house and we meet her son, and he's thanking us and all this stuff. And he goes, oh, but before you go, because I hadn't been able to go to church, but I've always saved my tithe, I have something for you. I want you to, something that'll maybe help your new job. You're starting your church in Florida. And he hands us this thick envelope, and we, thank you. We're receiving this from God, and thank you for being obedient. And you're a real blessing. He's going to bless you. We get in the car, and my husband hands it to you. He goes, here, count it. So it was the exact amount that we needed, 1,000, whatever it was, that we needed to clear the register to go debt-free. And of course, in today's economy, it would probably be like $10,000,
Yeah.
but this was way a long time ago. But anyway,
Amazing.
you know, it's like, God is watching me. God sees us. He cares about us. So,
Amazing.
you know, those are just a couple of my bumps in the road are like, really, God, show me you.
A little bit of impatience. Sometimes maybe that's about as far as you went.
Yeah.
If it's not too personal, wondering, like, you have 8 kids and 19 grandkids. You probably had a hand in naming at least your own kids. So I'm just wondering, do like, as Catholics, I don't have kids, but usually we give names of saints, like Christian names, you know, of saints, Mary, Joseph, whatever. Do you do that in your tradition? Do you give Christian names? And if so, what are some of the favorite ones that you gave? Or is it just honoring your grandparents or your parents with Joe because my grandpa was Joe? Or what's the tradition for your family?
Yes, all of the above.
Okay.
So our all of them have a name from the Bible.
Okay.
And the girls, well, I had my mother and his mother, and then we had a third daughter. So, like, what's that? But anyway, our first was Candace, spelled like ACE, like the Queen of Ethiopia.
Oh,
and
okay.
Candace Helen, that was my husband's mother's name. And then we had Joshua, because Joshua Thomas for my husband. His name is Tom, although they named him Tommy, but we didn't want to name our son Joshua Tommy because it just didn't work. Anyway, and then the next son was Seth.
Ooh,
Seth is the second blessed son of Adam and Eve. Seth Isaiah, because he came in on a whirlwind hurricane in Florida, that place we moved. Yeah, we moved. So I had a baby. And he came a month early because of the barometric pressure drop. And everybody at the hospital was like, Hurricane David made him come. Are you going to name him David? And we're like, no, because everybody else was named David, but Seth Isaiah. And then Bethany, the town of Bethany. Bethany Jane. My mother's name was Lita Jane, and I like that. Bethany Jane Irby, and we were in the South, so that worked. Then we had that 5-year break when we didn't. We thought we were done.
No sex for 5 years.
And then there's Corbin, gift given to God. But now we had a college youth group that wanted us to name him Obadiah Wonkin. And we're like, oh, but so you can call him Obi-Wan Kenobi. We're like, I don't think so. But we did take the Obadiah. So he's Corby Obi Irby. Corbin Obadiah. And then Gabriel, the angel Gabriel. Gabriel Timothy. Timothy is another Bible name, but it's also my husband's brother's name. And then Caleb is a faithful son, the one that went out and said, yes, we'll take this land. Caleb, Joseph, because that was the middle name of our older daughter. Now she's already, 11, 13, 15 when he was born. So I had teenagers in the house for like 40 something years because they'd get older, but we'd have more coming along. Anyway. And then this was the last one. So let's give him another name, Zion. So he's Caleb, Joseph, Zion.
Wow.
And then, 8 years go by, but I had this name, Malia. It is a man's name in the genealogy in the Bible, but Malia, I love that name, Melea. And because we didn't have any more mothers-in-law, and I, at that stage, I needed it. Her middle name is Grace. Grace, Malia Grace. So Yeah.
Beautiful,
So
beautiful. Yeah.
that's the history, which is maybe a longer answer than you intended
No,
me to give you.
no.
But
I wanted a long one, but I didn't know how shy you were to share to dox your family.
oh yeah, no, I'm not. Maybe I should be more shy, not to tell
No,
everything about my kids.
God's gonna protect you and your kids.
Yes, yes. And I have to say, people say, why do you have so many kids? And it's like, I don't have so many. I just have Candace, Joshua, Seth, Bethany, Corbin, Gabriel, Caleb, and Malia. I mean, which one should I give up?
Yeah.
I mean, and they're all, I know it's your mother speaking. This is a wonderful recommendation, sir, for this job, but do you have any other references besides your mother? But my kids are just amazing, making a difference in the world, literally.
How many of them are practicing Christians?
6.
Okay.
But the 2 that aren't are amazing still. They're doing stuff and just fabulous people. They're just, I mean, yeah.
Are they going to come back, or you don't know?
You know what? And here's another, let's trust God. Because who is it brings somebody? Who is it saves somebody? It's God. It's the grace of God. So we can't make anybody be a believer. So our job is to just love them, love them, love them. And I mean, one of our sons said, y'all are the best example of Christians that I know. It's just not for me. Well, and I think right now, maybe later. And I have told him, because I have done, I've taught classes, and my husband and I have written a course about parenting. I've asked permission to say that he's not a believer. And he goes, yeah, I don't care, sure. And I said, well, but you know that I'm praying that even if God has to put you flat on your back to look up, I'm praying that you will look up. And he's like, thanks, Mom.
Yeah, well, I was thinking it's usually suffering that helps. They say there are no atheists in foxholes and all that sort of thing.
Exactly.
So.
And his life is just pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he doesn't need God.
Fascinating, yeah.
I hope nothing terrible happens. But what can happen on earth that's more terrible than spending eternity without God?
No, nothing. Yeah, crazy. So, yeah, it's a beautiful life you've got, and I always say to parents of big families, I'm jealous because it's such a beautiful thing, and my dad's one of 14, my mom's one of 7, so I've got a lot of cousins,
Yeah.
But my wife and I didn't have any children. Now it's a bit too late. She's 50 something, and I'm 53. But barring a miracle or whatever. But yeah, it's a beautiful thing having a large family, and unfortunately there is some prejudice against it in our Western society. Like you mentioned, some people think you're strange or you're eating up too many resources. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So usually when people find out that we have so many children, their first question is, oh, are you Catholic? And I'll go, no. And they go, oh, you're Mormon. I'll go, no. And they'll look at me like,
are you Muslim?
Well, I'm passionate Protestant.
Oh. I'm a sexy woman, just say.
Yeah. Or sometimes when I'm feeling really
sassy.
Yes, I will say, oh, what? Oh, when somebody says, don't you know what's causing that? And I'll say, what? Do you need lessons?
The stork, just say the stork likes me.
Yes. But I mean, be fruitful and multiply didn't mean eat bananas and do math.
Oh, you could probably make a living as doing stand-up. You know that, right?
I would love it. Then there would be no secrets left. No.
Ah.
Yeah, I'm working on a book titled "How to Be Fruitful Without Going Bananas."
Well, you did mention one of your children is named Zion. This is just a little tangential question. We won't dwell on it, but there's things are heating up in the Middle East, and I'm firmly against the man-made artificial creation of the state of Israel. I'm against that. A lot of Christians in the States are for it. I'm just wondering, without getting too political, where do you stand on the creation of the state of Israel and
Well, when
modern day state? I mean,
when was Israel first established?
yeah. I'm in favor of that one. I'm not in favor of the 1940 whatever one. That's the difference.
Okay. Well, here's also an inside scoop. Because of my grandmother, I am considered Jewish.
Oh, no way.
Yes.
Ah, well, we're all Jews. The Christians are the
We are
spiritual
either
Jews.
adopted Jews or
Blood Jews.
blood Jews.
Ah.
And my sister came to visit when she was evacuated from Israel a couple of weeks ago.
Oh.
Because she and her husband were working there since March, end of March. I have a plane ticket to go visit her in March.
Wow.
But she's not there. And maybe Israel won't be. I don't know.
Well, I mean, some of the evangelical Christians down in the States, they're very excited about the end times. They want to bring the end times and bring the prophecies to fulfillment. I don't like that. I don't like that idea. I want God to be in control. I don't want people to force God's hand. And there are a lot of Jews, the Hasidic Jews, the ultra-Orthodox, who are against the state of Israel because it's forcing God's hand. They say that, no, we're in exile and it's up to God to bring us back. So what's your take on all that, your biblical understanding of the end times, Israel, and Romans 11, where all the Jews are going to come back in?
Well, there's the rapture idea and the pre-trib and the post-trib and all the different, and I'm pan-trib. It's going to pan out.
Okay.
And if we think that we've got it figured out, then it's not the time, because we're already told we can't know. Even Jesus didn't know. So if we think we're so smart, we've got it figured out, then we're dumb because we haven't.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
There's that.
Yeah, 100%.
Who can force God's hand? It's like somebody saying that you can force somebody to get pregnant when it's not God's will. Only God gives the life. And you can do, I've had friends, and maybe, I don't know how many, not to get personal, what your attempts were, but there are people that try. And if it's not what God wants, because he has other plans, other ways that things are supposed to work out, there's nothing you can do. Same with salvation. There's nothing you can do to make someone. You can't, there's no such thing as forcing God's hand. And even if it looks like you forced God's hand, then it was his plan in the first place. And you were just playing into the whole big role.
Yeah. I didn't mean to imply that you could actually force God's hand, but there's that attempt to do that, or that silly attempt to do that, which I think some people do. I mean, we all do it to a certain extent. Like we all kind of want God to do our will, right? As secretly we kind of think, like, wouldn't that be nice?
Me? What? God to... And especially with the pastor husband, when I take on the role of Mrs. Holy Spirit.
Oh.
I've given up that. It only took me about 25 years of marriage to go, being Mrs. Holy Spirit doesn't really work.
Wow. I got a couple of random questions for you from me. I just want to give a shout out to my Turkish friend. He's going to come on after you.
Oh, good.
He's in the live chat, and he always, whenever he's in the live chat, he always says, "Ooh, David." I don't know what that means. Like, ooh, what does that mean? Like, I don't understand. Maybe that's his way of saying hello in Turkish. Like, ooh.
Maybe.
My boss took me for lunch at a Turkish restaurant today. It's one of my favorites because they have nice Turkish music. The people are nice. The food is good, you know. But so anyway, he's in the live chat. He says Caleb Joseph Zayan. I don't know if that's his real name or if he's just throwing out random names because he mentioned that while you were naming your kids. So.
Oh, that was my son's name, Caleb Joseph Zion.
Oh, okay. He just misspelled it, but okay. So he was impressed with that name. He was very impressed with that name, apparently. So, where do we go from here? I've got about 20 minutes left for some random questions. So,
okay, go for it.
Yeah. So maybe I saw a little something. Well, maybe I'll start with asking about the books behind you. Did you write any or all of the books behind you?
I did.
All of them?
Yes. And those aren't all of them, but. I owned a tea room in the North Georgia mountains in a quaint town. And when I closed, people were like, how are we going to get your Greek egg salad? And what are we going to do without that? No problem. You can buy a cookbook from me. So I have a cookbook, a dollop and a pinch. And then my most recent publication is Claim. Let's see, do I have? Yeah. Claim, how leaders keep their employees engaged and productive. And Claim is an acrostic. Yeah, I never talk about this. Oh, what do I have here? Look at that. So it's an acrostic for leadership that creates a culture of belonging. And but what's really cool is the concept is applicable for a business leader leading people at work, a leader in the home leading the family, a church person even leading yourself. You want to belong. And if you claim your people, that means let them know that they are more than just connected, they're claimed, then it builds a strong culture. And it would take more than however many minutes, but the letters each stand for a concept. Like C stands for chosen. If people feel like they're chosen, then they feel selected and included, and it makes them be more productive and engaged. And that's true whatever area of life you're applying it. And the rest of them are others, but you can get my book.
To read the book. Have to read the book. Yeah.
You can get my book on Amazon.
You'll be owning Amazon at this rate if you keep going. But what's the angel book there? I believe in angels.
Yes. Have you ever heard of the Chicken Soup for the Soul books?
I heard about it.
Well, what it is they periodically, and now I think it's maybe 6 times a year almost, they put out a collection of stories, and you submit your story, and if they like it, they choose it for a particular title. That was my 3rd Chicken Soup book to be included.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Wow.
The first one was Step Outside Your Comfort Zone, and it was the story of how I opened the tea room. I mean, I thought about doing it, and then I had these 5 things that I had to have, and I thought that, and then God gave me a reality. I was going, God, take it out of my hand if I'm not supposed to do this, because I did still have 4 children at home, and a pastor's wife, and that. But anyway, so I said, okay, God, I won't do it. I put that dream up on the shelf. And then God said, okay, thank you for listening to me. And he turned around and he gave it to me with all 5 of those miraculously. And so I had it for 7 years. And that story is in that book. The second book was The Forgiveness Fix. It's a story about how God taught me to forgive. And instead of holding a grudge, which, holding a grudge is like drinking poison for the other person to die. But every time I picked up the broom, that was my prompt to hate Kathy Greener, which is a long story, and you can get the book and read it. But anyway, instead of going, Kathy Greener, I started praying for her every time I picked up a broom. And what do you know? I don't know if my floors got any cleaner, but my heart got cleaner, because praying for you can't pray for somebody and hate them at the same time. So that's what that story's about. And actually, I Believe in Angels was the story about the guy that gave us the money when we were leaving town.
Huh?
So that's in there.
Ah.
And then some of the other books, yeah, I've got a couple of parenting books that are on Amazon. And then I've got some devotional journals, one for young mothers and one for women seeking God. And then the one about 9/11, my writers group, we did a collection of, we have 17 stories of what each of the authors remembered that particular day. And we published it and released it on the 20th anniversary of 9/11. And the proceeds, any profit that we get, goes to a local veteran ministry.
Wow. What do you think happened? Who do you think took down the towers and how?
The bad guys.
Yeah, but who are the bad guys, do you think?
Some off the not quite right people that were not, they were, yeah, I don't have any specific theories except for the people that were brainwashed into thinking that they could go to heaven and have 20 virgins.
That's the official story. You believe the official story?
I hadn't studied it. I'll take that for now.
It's going to be quite a journey. It's going to be quite a journey.
Is there a conspiracy theory
there
about
are
that?
many. Yeah.
Well, you know the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth?
No.
About 6 months.
Okay. I don't get it.
Meaning, in 6 months you find out, oh, that wasn't a conspiracy, that was the truth. Okay, so now
I see. Yeah. But I agree with you. It was the bad guys who did it. But the question is, who are the bad guys, and how much subterfuge and how much intrigue and deception is there? Because if you read the Old Testament, you can find all kinds of complicated, political shifting alliances and deceit and stuff like that. So why would it be different today? Why would it be? It's the same thing today.
Yeah, the sin nature of man has not changed.
Yeah.
And so if they can lie, cheat, steal, they're going to.
Yeah. People love money and power and sex and stuff like that. Food.
Yep, all that stuff.
Pleasure, all the good stuff. So another random question for you. I'm a young Earth creationist. I believe the whole universe is like 7,000 years old or so. Do you believe in evolution? Do you think that we evolved from apes, or do you believe what I believe, that Genesis actually tells us how God did it?
So... Yes, I agree with you.
Okay.
I mean, so like if there's a creation, there has to be a creator. And if there's dirt, it's like, or the whole evolution idea, which isn't a scientific fact. It's not even a theory because you can't test it. There's nothing scientific about it, because if you're going to go by science, you have to test a theory and try all the variables and see if it works. There's no way to do that. But if you dig down and look at all the intricate design of creation, it couldn't accidentally happen from a big bang or something. Because first of all, where did the Big Bang stuff come from in the first place? God said, let there be, whatever his word created everything. Now, you could say that he took a long time, but why would he say a day is a day and it was good? And then, but wait, later, I think I'm going to make those days shorter and make it 24 hours, especially after he already put the sun and the moon up there to make the light at the certain, he did stop the sun. when sometime in the Old Testament when somebody needed him to, but that's beside the point. That was a off.
That was Joshua, wasn't it?
Was it?
Did Joshua make it climb up the stairs? The shadow?
It was somebody, it wasn't Joshua. It was somebody that has this obscure, not really familiar.
Not a well-known guy.
And numbers are sometimes challenging for me to remember. I remember concepts.
Yeah. It's interesting. I guess another sort of random question for you would be about your heroes in the Bible, Old Testament and New. You've already spilled the beans because you talked about the names you gave your kids, but you may have just liked the way that the names sounded. It might not be because they're your heroes. I noticed you didn't name any of your kids Paul, and I'm pretty sure Paul's one of your heroes.
Yes, Paul. I probably want to be more like Paul, but I relate more to Peter.
Impulsive?
I was gonna do that. Oh, wait, no, I shouldn't have done that. Yes. And of course, David. You can relate to David because, man, he blew it, but God still loved him, which proves that there is absolutely nothing we can do to make God love us any more or make God love us any less, which takes off all the pressure and the burden. But we want to love God because he loved us while we were yet sinners, and Christ died for us.
I just thought of another interesting question for you, and hopefully you come back in the future and we can dig into all kinds of other stuff. But the question that just occurred to me is a lot of Protestants, for lack of a better term, are once saved, always saved. They believe that they have assurance of their salvation. Are you one of those? Because if so, I have a question for you.
Okay, so you know how adoption works, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can't unadopt somebody if you've adopted them, right?
I'm laughing because my friend Nicola just joined the live chat. He says, my hero is David too, but not the one from the Bible, from CVS podcast. He's talking about...
Yes. Brown nose.
Yeah. Nicola the brown noser. No, he's a sweetheart. Yeah. He's a sweetheart. He's just being silly. He knows that the flattery will get him nowhere. He knows that. So anyway.
So once you're grafted in, once you're adopted, and it says no man can snatch you out of the Father's hand. But here comes the sticky part. Somebody becomes a Christian, and then they go off the rails and never come back.
As far as we know,
the rails, but he didn't last off the rails very long. He came back. If you go off the rails and 25 years later, well, I became a Christian, so I'm supposed to go to heaven. It was not real in the first place. It was either humanly manipulated or emotionally conjured up, but it wasn't an act of God because God's work sticks.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. The question that I have for you, if you believe that you have assurance of your salvation, my question that I have for you is, how do you interpret what Paul said? Like Paul said that you don't hope for what you already have, right? So are you without hope for your salvation? Because in heaven we're not going to have faith or hope. We're only going to have love. Because we're fulfilled. We don't need hope and we don't need faith, right? So if you're assured of your salvation, that means you cannot hope for your salvation because you already have it in hand. So do you not have hope for your own salvation?
It's a balance.
Okay.
You know it's there, but you haven't seen it because it's not present.
Okay. That's a good answer. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Loophole. You found the loophole. So, my friend, thank you for that, by the way. And I believe it. It's a good answer. So, my friend says, how does a church get youth involved? This is my Catholic friend. He's asking, how can we get the youth excited? And earlier in this interview, you said that you can't really force it, and only God can do it. So, I mean, is there anything else to say?
Well, one of the key factors in attracting young people, I think, of course, I'm being spontaneous right here, and I haven't researched it well, is to be authentic, because they have the fake scent. They can smell out something that stinks. You have to be real. If you are struggling with something, you got to talk about it and be real about it. The second thing, so number one, you have to be authentic. You have to be real. And two, listen. Find out what they're struggling with. You don't want to, if somebody's wondering if they should kill themselves or not, you don't want to be telling them they need to get married before they have sex. That's not even on their radar. Listen to what they're struggling with, and don't try to be youth for them. Don't be, oh, I'm gonna be cool and really relate. But you're 50. You can't be cool anymore.
I have to wait till I'm your age, then I can be cool again, apparently.
Yes, you have to be really old, and then you can be cool again.
Okay, this is a stupid question, but how hot were you when you were young? Because I have the feeling you were really, really sexy when you were
I never felt like I was.
No?
But I go back and I look at pictures and I go, oh, what? Why did I think
because you were tall, right? You're tall, right? You played basketball. You're very beautiful now.
Thank you.
So you must have been very, very attractive.
I guess my husband thought I was pretty hot.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna ask him. Get him to come on the show because I want to ask him. Just how hot was she? Like, I'm thinking you were like a 9 or a 10.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your confidence in me, Chief.
Not that it matters.
I've had 8 children, and I've almost been married 50 years. Of course, I look good.
Yeah, that's amazing. Not that it matters. I mean, you don't need that to go to heaven, right? So
this is true, and I'm glad. Yes, that. But we're all going to get these new bodies when we get to heaven, and we get to eat at a banqueting table that doesn't count calories.
Yeah, well, that's one of my secret desires is like the food in heaven. And I don't know if you've meditated on heaven and what's going to be involved, but food is part of it, and it doesn't necessarily have to be part of it, but I think it's going to be part of it. And God understands how the different flavors combine, because we've experimented here below and we've found some pretty good combinations. But there are some that we haven't discovered yet, right? So it's going to be a surprise in heaven.
Absolutely. And do you know what a TEDx talk is?
Yeah, TED Talks.
Well, there's a difference. There's a TED Talk, and then there's a TEDx.
TEDx.
TEDx is a local event. TED is like
big.
Yeah, and it's only one place once a year, whatever. Anyway, I did a TEDx talk called "The Magic of the Meal," and I was just thinking about food and how the talk is about how food is a connector. How when you come together and eat together, when you break bread together, especially if it's the same food, not sitting together eating different kinds of food, but sharing from the same plate.
Yeah.
It emotionally and psychologically impacts you. And I just was thinking, when we get to heaven, we are going to all it's going to be a big party. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. Well, you've traveled a lot, right? So you've seen, for example, in Ethiopia, how they eat from a big common dish with the bread. They pick up the food with the bread, and a lot of cultures do that. I mean, I think that's the normal family style dining, and in the West we've sort of individualized people in a way that's maybe not healthy.
Right. Or everybody's got their dietary needs, and you have to have a different covered dish for each. This is the, and this is the, and here's the. Which is, I
Oh,
mean, you know, I understand people have health needs,
yeah.
but
Did you develop a bunch of intolerances as you got middle-aged and older?
I've always been able to eat any food I wanted.
Okay, okay, okay. That's
And
good.
I still eat more food than I should.
Uh, well, next time, because I have to let you go now, because my friend from Turkey's coming on here. But next time, I want to talk to you about virtue. I want to talk about vice. I want to talk about, how to please God, and I want to talk about all kinds of stuff with respect to, you talk about claim and how to be a leader, but I want to see how that applies to your faith journey in a very personal way when it comes to being obedient to God and how to please God and these sorts of things. So that's what we're going to talk about next time. I hope you come back in 2024 because my calendar's booked because of Podmatch, right?
Yes. And I just happened to find this was the one slot and I got in.
Yeah, well, I have slots that open up. So there's a cancellation, I think. And slots do open up, so I'll try to squeeze your hubby in there if he's open to coming on.
Oh, he if you think I like to talk,
Wow!
yeah, it's
Wow! Wow!
but I'm going to say something. But I'm going to say anyway. So yes, David, thank you so much. This has been a blast.
Yeah, amazing.
I hope, the listener has enjoyed it.
Well, there are 3 people in the live chat, so that makes 5 of us total, and there'll be more. Don't worry. Amazing meeting you. I hope you're gonna pray for me and mine. I'm gonna be praying for you and yours, and I enroll all my guests in a perpetual mass, so you'll be getting the graces of the mass every day till the end of time. And another thing we can talk about next time would be sort of how you understood Catholicism from looking in from the outside, and some of the stereotypes, maybe some of the misunderstandings. We could talk about Mary and the Pope and these sorts of things. That'd be fun to get your perspective on all that too, okay?
Absolutely.
So God bless you. Please pray for me and mine. And we'll be in touch. I'm going to shoot you an email and just remind you to invite your husband up.
Okay, thank you.
What's his name, by the way?
Tom.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned that. So have a good evening. Are we in the same time zone?
I don't know. It's 9:00 at night.
Yep, we're in the same time zone.
Oh, okay.
Do you sleep, or are you just like go?
I don't have time for that.
Excellent to meet you. You're a very vivacious and energetic woman, and you're a joy to behold, and you have a lot to say. That's why I hope you come back. But in the meantime, we'll see each other on email, okay?
All right. Thanks, David.
God love you.
Bye now.
Bye.